What's up, guys? I'm Chris Eaton, and welcome to episode 99 of Snakes and Fatman. Listen, we're starting off things a little bit different today. Don't be a fucking reptile bitch. Do you really want to be the douche in your crowd that's not using the original veteran-owned cocoa substrate? When people ask you what kind of substrate you use, do you really want to just rattle off some dumb nouns and verbs and end it with the word cocoa? Just get on board the Reptile train. The best cocoa substrate on the fucking planet. Reptichip.com. All right, let's head on over to Herps and see what Sean and Lori have going on down south there. Let's see, on June 3rd and 4th, they're going to be in Lake Charles, Louisiana. Then on June 10th and 11th, that's the big show. They're going to be in Conroe, Texas. I'm really hoping to make it out to that one. Then they're going to be in Shreveport, Louisiana on June 24th and 25th. They're going to be in Slidell, Louisiana on July 22nd and 23rd. They're going to be in OK City, Oklahoma City, Oklahoma on July 29th and 30th. They're going to be in Corpus Christi, Texas on August 12th and 13th. Then they're going to be in Bryan, College Station on August 19th and 20th. Then another show in September, the big one, in Conroe, September 9th and 10th. Head on over to herpshow.net. Fucking tell Sean and Lori what a great fucking job they're doing. herpshow.net. Relevant. Legacy. Legendary. Relevant, legacy, 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 legendary.
have you?
Relevant, legacy, legendary? I'm sorry. I just wanted to see if rattling off those words a bunch of times actually makes them true. Turns out, it doesn't. You know it, you love it, and it's just getting bigger and bigger. MorphMarket, of course. Have you noticed that photos have gotten more detailed? That's because they're investing more money to deliver higher quality images. Last time I checked, the photos were 9% more higher quality. And if you're a standard member or higher, you can now add a custom banner to your store page that enhances your brand and presence. With an astounding 500,000 monthly visitors, MorphMarket has become an advertising superpower. These numbers are only expected to rise because of increased marketing efforts, witty social media content, and community engagement. In the past few weeks, they've awarded $6,000 in giveaways to users, with more coming. I guess you could say MorphMarket has a lot of balls. MorphMarket has a lot of balls. Go check them out. Fucking Darian. MorphMarket.com. Redline Shipping is continuing its race to the top of the reptile shipping world, pushing to be the #1 reptile shipper in the United States by summer 2023. Pretty sure they're going to get there. Pretty sure they might already be there. Redline Shipping offers on-time and live arrival insurance, as well as having the best customer service in the fucking reptile shipping game. They're partnered with NARBC, and they are the gold standard of shipping. If you're getting a custom discount from one of the other shipping companies, call Redline and see what you guys could work out. I guarantee they'll beat it. You are better off Red. Use the code ROBIN60 for 60% off of your first 2 shipments. And once you're done with that coupon, use the code FATMAN5 for an additional $5 off your already discounted rates on another shipment. Join Team Redline right now, not tomorrow, right now, and be better off Red. RedlineShipping.com. All right, so the next episode is going to be episode 100. And, you know, to be honest with you, I was going to make a big deal out of it, and I was going to get some of the big dogs to come on and make it legendary. Legendary. But then I thought to myself, like, who the fuck do you think you are, Tubby? All right? You're not fucking Rogan or fucking Marin. Nobody gives a fuck. Every other dumb reptile podcast has hit episode 100, and they did it after like 2 years. It's taken me 7, almost 8. I've been doing this podcast longer than some of these other people have been even fucking breeding. Now, it's taken me almost 8 years, because for the first 3 years, I only did 1 podcast a month, and that was just audio. Even now, I only do 2 podcasts a month. So, you know, give me a break. I'm on a fucking slower schedule. Like Ralph Davis used to say, it's all about slow grow, man. Now, before I even did my first reptile podcast, I was working with reptiles for over 15 years. Think about that. But just think about it for a second, because it really doesn't matter these days. I didn't want to spend my 100th episode doing an ego-boosting, ooh, look at me, I'm awesome type of show. You guys should already know how awesome I am. But I did want to do something a little different for episode 100. So for the first time ever, episode 100 is going to be done live on YouTube on June 1st at 8 p.m. Not only that, but I'm going to have some really good friends of mine host the entire show with me. One of those friends is going to be Mike Stefani of Mike's Monitors, where we will announce the winner of the 2023 Mertens Monitor giveaway. We're also going to have a brand new 15 Minutes of Lane that we're going to do something special for. It's just going to be a fun show and kind of like a little bit of a party. Will some big names show up? Yeah, maybe. Will some hot chicks show up? Maybe. Will it be just fucking awesome and the best show available on YouTube that night? Definitely. Say goodbye to spreadsheets. Say hello to Clutch. Everybody say it with me. Hello, Clutch. This brand new cloud-based software makes managing your ball python collection simple. With Clutch, you can easily create, search and filter your collection, visualize your projects with analytics and insights, keep track of past, present, and future clutches, and connect every customer with the perfect animal using an insanely great waitlist system. Head on over to clutch.io, that's CLTCH.io, to learn more and get ready to discover the power of your collection.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, Snakes in the Fatman proudly brings to you its new breeder segment, 15 Minutes of Lame!
Hey guys, it's Justin at Canova. So in the past few years, Canova's become the top source for amazing ball pythons. Now Chris tells me, Justin, it's time to give back. So we're sponsoring the 15 Minutes of Lame to support the new and upcoming breeders. So jump in here. Let's hear your ideas. Let's hear your thoughts. Maybe you can turn your 15 minutes of lame into 20 years of lame, just like I did. If you want to be the man, you got to beat the man. So bring it.
15 Minutes of Lame!
What's up, everybody? Look who I got here. Got Justin Brill, Stoneage pythons, all the way up in Bigfoot country in the Pacific Northwest in Oregon. What's going on, Justin?
Hey, Chris, thanks for having me on, man.
Yeah, brother, no problem, man. I've heard nothing but good stuff about you. But like, you'd be pleased to know that a lot of you fucking Bigfoot people up there, no one has said to me, yeah, fuck Justin. He's a fucking asshole, you know? So everybody has good things to say about you. So I figured we'd have you on, see what you got going on, and kind of go from there. Now, you know how all this shit works, right? I mean, you have 15 minutes to pimp your shit, and that's going to start now. So right off the bat, what's with the name?
Yeah, Stoneage. Me and my best friend used to do storage auctions in like 2010, and that was our company name. And then when I first got into ball pythons and decided to like try and make a breeding business out of it, my best friend helped me with it, and I'm like, well, what should we call it? And Stoneage had been thrown around a bunch, and we had business cards made up, and I'm like, let's just call it Stoneage Ball Pythons.
So you used to do like storage wars, people?
Yeah, not ever on TV or nothing, but yeah, we did it for probably about like 6 months, 9 months. It was a lot of fun.
Right. And what do you do nowadays? What's your day gig?
Industrial electrician.
Oh, okay. All right. So are you guys union up there or no?
Yeah, union.
Yeah, that's
Local
the way to do it, right?
Oh, yeah.
Well, and so the second question, obviously, is you're up there with 15 minutes of lame finalist Janet King. You're in that whole Bigfoot area. Why should people buy from you?
People should buy from me because they're looking for a specific snake for their project or a group of specific genetics. What genetics I'm working with, I'll have what they need for their projects.
And what genetics are you working with?
Right now, I'm really big into clown pied. I'll have double visuals, visual heads, and double heads with a bunch of different codominant traits mixed in. And I have DG clown stuff and DG cryptic stuff growing up as well, females. And
You're hopping on that cryptic bandwagon, huh?
I have one, and it's a female het DG, het cryptic, pos het pied female that I got from Rip.
Yeah, I don't even understand the cryptic shit, man. What I do know is that like 2 years ago, everybody's like, "Oh, cryptic just popped up in my collection out of nowhere." So nobody even knows where it came from or anything like that. It's just fucking ridiculous, man.
Right.
But all right, so you're into double recessives and everything else. How many animals do you have right now?
With stuff that I have here and stuff that I have loaned out, it's about 54.
Okay, well that's not bad at all, right? Still under 100.
Yeah, I'm trying to
Yeah.
keep it. Well, I got a lot going on in life.
Yeah, that makes it at least manageable. Is the what's the 5-year plan with this? Is it to be something like Justin or Ozzy, or is it to just kind of keep it as a side gig, being that you got a great day job?
Yeah, it's definitely going to stay a side gig for at least the next 10 years, and after that we'll reevaluate. But definitely going to stay under 100 breeders for the foreseeable future for sure.
Are you only doing ball pythons or no?
I only actively breed ball pythons here, but I have crested geckos loaned out to crested gecko breeder, and I own crested geckos that way, I guess. But yeah.
Okay, so you have breeding loans with people?
Yeah.
Okay, and do you want to shout any of them out or no?
Yeah, absolutely. Cue ball morphs out of Oregon. I think he's probably one of the top breeders in the Pacific Northwest, just in Oregon and Washington when it comes to size and power of collection. But I have probably 6 animals loaned out to him for different projects.
Okay, and you're partnering with him on the crested geckos?
Yeah, crested geckos and ball pythons.
Oh, and ball pythons. Okay,
Yep.
all right, cool. All right, well, and I was looking at your Instagram, and I mean, you had 392,000 fucking followers. Did a lot of those followers start after you started doing the reaction videos?
Yeah, absolutely. So December 27th, I had 48,000 followers, and that was just off of like just my content, snakes, frozen thawed feeding videos. That was just off of mine. So I hit 48K just off of that. And I was really stagnant from like September to end of December. And I was losing followers and not going up. And I had seen a couple of reaction videos. And I was like, okay, those are really popular. I'll try. Let me try 3 or 4 videos and see what happens. And that was December 27th. I posted a couple of those videos, and they all hit like 3 million views, like within a couple of days. And I'm like, whoa, this is actually something that could work. So the only reason I did that is because I'm monetized on Instagram, so I get paid per view on my reels. And
Right.
I'm like, I want to try and before this goes away, I want to try and get what I can out of it. And changing to those reaction videos, into December to now, I've just blown up. Honestly, it's been nuts.
Well, yeah. And I literally know nothing about monetization on Instagram. So, do they pay better than YouTube? Because YouTube is dog shit.
Yeah, the Reels bonus has paid out really, really well. It's about $105 per million views.
Gotcha. Okay. And do you want to keep doing that, or you like it has to get hard to find new things to react to every fucking week? Are you going to keep doing that, or?
So I've slowed down a lot lately because the Reels bonus actually just got canceled site wide. So nobody on Instagram is getting paid for any type of video production or putting out content. So it's kind of turned me off to the idea of doing it, because the only reason I was doing it in the first place was for gaining the revenue for my snake company, because all that money got pumped back into sending me to Arlington. I bought tickets. I'm going to Tenley in the fall, and it's upgraded my collection hand over fist the last 3 months for sure.
Now, do they completely stop it, or are they still doing it, but the numbers are a lot more higher to hit?
No, they completely stopped it for everybody across the whole platform. But the email that I got, it said it was supposed to be replaced with something else in the future, but I don't know what that means. If it's going to be like an ad sharing and not so much a bonus anymore.
Right.
I'm pretty sure they were losing money on it, and that's when they're like, "Yeah, we got to nix this," because obviously,
Right.
economy's like on the brink of recession. People are getting laid off at Facebook, so like we're laying people off, but paying people to put videos. So I think it was kind of maybe that a financial decision.
Right. Now, is there any way to make money on Instagram anymore?
Subscriptions and gifts on Reels, but that's doesn't really ever. I don't ever get any traction off any of that.
And gifts on Reels, would that be like super chats on YouTube?
Yeah, sending me like coins or whatever.
Oh,
I've received a few, but not much.
Well, yeah, fuck that. Well, and then so that's led you to starting a new Instagram page, right?
Yeah.
And you want to retain ball python people now as opposed to everybody else, because I would imagine out of this 392,000 followers, 300,000 of them are not ball python people, right?
I'd say even less are not. I think maybe 5,000 of those are ball python people, because that's about what I had ball python wise. Maybe more. I'd say less, maybe less than 25,000 are ball python people, and
Right.
the rest are just viral. Like I'm not even popular in America. Like I'm viral in India, Tehran, Indonesia, places like that. Like this viral account is strictly just to try and make me revenue to help with the ball pythons. Like that's
Right.
why I started the other Instagram page, because I want it to be specifically people who are looking for the projects that I'm working on, where they can find all my ball python stuff, not mixed in with all these reaction videos. So that's why I
Right.
made that and trying to pump that up.
And you're doing a giveaway, right, to hit a certain number?
Yeah, I got Sensor Push to sponsor the giveaway.
Okay.
So they sent me like their higher end sensor and one of their gateways. So if people, I've looked into Sensor Push or not, but you can monitor your temps and humidity from anywhere in the world with the sensor in that gateway. So I'm at work, if I get alerts if my incubator is off by a degree or if my snake room is too cold. So it's a great value. It's free. It didn't cost me anything, and it won't cost you anything.
And what number are you trying to hit?
I just want to get it to 1,300. I'm about 860 right now.
Right. Okay. All right. Well, that shouldn't be too hard. I mean, even 392,000. Fucking, if you get the word out, fucking people should listen. Go join his new Instagram. It's Stoneage _ball _pythons, which is fucked up because anything with an underscore in it is just like, what the fuck, man. All right. Well, all right. Stoneage _ball _ pythons. Go and follow fucking Justin now on that shit. Now let's quickly talk some sponsors, okay? Right off the bat, because I got a feeling you're gonna be horrible at this just because you're in the middle of fucking nowhere up there. And I don't even know if a lot of these people get their products up to you. But right off the bat, do you use ReptiChip?
I do not.
Right off the bat, JT gives you a giant fuck you, and he has big hands, man. So that's a big middle finger there. Big old fuck you from ReptiChip. Okay, do you use any Sea Serpents products up there?
I do not.
Holy fuck. Okay. You're basically saying a fuck you to Texas and Florida. Okay.
I knew this was going to be
gives you a big old fuck you. Now, do you have a focus cubed habitat somewhere in your house?
I don't.
Oh, Stephen and Ashley just lining up to give you a big old fuck you, man. All right, here's one that you might use. Do you use Redline shipping?
I do. Yes. Robin.
That's what I want to hear. Use my fucking Fatman 5 code, man. Okay. $5 off anything you ship with Redline. Okay, so Robin does not give you a fuck you.
Yeah,
Here's another thing that I know you're going to do okay. You use MorphMarket, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. John Lehman or this new guy, Darian, if that's his name, does not give you a fuck you also. Okay. So that's actually pretty cool. I looked at your logo. It doesn't look like a logo. That logo was done by Stewart Design.
No, unfortunately, it was not.
Blake Stewart just standing there like this, okay, giving you a fucking big old fuck you. Now, I know Sean and Lori over at Herps are going to give you a fuck you too, because I know no way you headed down to Conroe or anything to go to a fucking Herp show. Is that correct?
That is correct. No Herp shows.
Boom. Sean and Lori give you a big old fuck you. Have you ever bought a snake from Canova?
I have not.
Jesus Christ. Did you even watch this show, man? All right. Fuck.
Honestly, I thought about going and hitting them up and buying one just so I had some stuff to say yes about.
Holy shit. Justin, the nicest guy in the industry, gives you a fuck you once. Now, do you use Clutch at all?
I don't. I signed up for the beta test, but they never hit me up.
Yeah, but it's open for everybody right now.
Yeah, so technically I do have I have created an account. I just haven't used it.
All right.
Different one.
Creation does not mean use. Justin pulls his hand out of his other pocket and gives you a big old fuck you. Now, and I know the last answer too. Have you ever bought a gecko from fucking Frank at Geeky Gecko Creations?
I'm sorry, Frank. I have not bought a gecko from you.
Oh, Frank gives you the big old Italian fuck you, man. Damn. 2 out of fucking 10. Okay. It's like it's like you basically just gave me a big old fuck you. Okay. So I don't understand, and it's okay. And honestly, oh, look at this. It doesn't fucking matter anyway because your 15 is up.
Oh,
but
no.
How can people get in touch with you?
Instagram is the best way. I have a Facebook page for my business profile. I have all the other social medias, but Instagram's definitely the best way.
And it's all Stoneage, right?
Yep, Stoneage ball pythons.
Okay.
Yep.
Dude, thank you for taking the time to fucking hang with me for a little bit, even though you fucked up everything with the sponsors. But I still appreciate you, man. And I still appreciate all you fucking Bigfoot hunting Pacific Northwest people. So when's your next show?
Next show, April 22nd, Pac Northwest show in Hillsboro. I won't be vending, but I'll be helping another vendor vend.
All right. So now everybody knows what he looks like. All right. So go fucking say what's up to Justin from Stoneage Ball Pythons. Brother, thank you again.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Appreciate it, man.
Dude, of course, man. All right, brother. Take it easy.
Yeah, you too. See ya.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, Snakes in the Batman proudly brings to you its new breeder segment, 15 Minutes of Lame!
Listen, guys, Stewart Design doesn't just create logos, they build brands. What do I mean by this? Well, your brand has both a verbal and visual side. Think of this as your brand message and brand image. Your brand message is what initially draws clients to you and continually generates new business. After that, the quality of your product and service keeps them coming back and retains them. Without effective messaging, you're only going to be connecting with a small percentage of the clients you could be connecting with. Your brand message helps you clearly define who you are, how are you different from your competitors, what value you offer to your clients, and why potential clients should choose you over others. For this reason, Stewart Design always starts branding projects by developing your brand's message first. Creating a logo without understanding why and how it needs to look is only going to hold your company back and should be considered fucking malpractice. Stewart Design starts by clarifying your goals, audience, and industry. Then they form your messaging. After that, they strategically determine what colors, styles, and fonts make the most sense to use. And then finally, how the logo needs to look and function. You see, the visual identity of a company should be a natural result of proper strategy. Because the question really shouldn't be, do I like this? It should be, will this work? Stewart Design figures out what will actually work and provides you with a true investment to grow your business. When done right, it should attract the right people and it should reflect your business properly. It should make your company more memorable and it should build trust and credibility with your clients. On the other hand, if it's done poorly, it could do the exact opposite. It could make you look amateur and can actually deter your business. Don't settle for a fucking idiot that simply offers you a cheap logo. Build your brand the right way. Bring out your best so you could get it right from the start and finally move out of your mother's fucking basement, crush it at Tinley, Pomona, or Arlington, and build a life for yourself doing what you love. Contact Stewart Design today. You could reach them at stewartdesignbrands.com. Again, that's stewartdesignbrands.com. All right, so coming up is a guy that's been a friend of mine for the last 15 years. He was around for the entire Eyeballs run, and he was our exclusive rat guy the whole time. I've literally sat back and watched Brian Kaczmarczyk from the Reptile Deli grow his business from a fucking storage pod. That's what he started in. He started in a fucking storage pod and grow it to a 25,000 square foot facility. He now specializes in feeders, bugs, and the industry's most advanced reptile products. Here's my one-on-one with Brian Kaczmarczyk, or Brian Kaz, as he was known when I first met him, of Reptile Deli. What's up, everybody? Look who I have here. I have my old friend, Brian Kaz here from Reptile Deli. What's up, brother?
What's up?
Dude, it's been like 10 or 12 years, right, since I've known you.
Yeah, it's been a long time. You've definitely been there through a good part of my business, that's for sure. Through, the very, very small days of my company, which honestly, sometimes I'm like, man, I wish I could just clean some rat shit.
Yeah, well, when I met you were doing rats and some bugs at the time, right?
Yeah, I think that's when we just started to dabble like into the Doobie Roach venture, back when everybody was like completely skeeved out by them, and you would try and make up all sorts of covert names for them when you would bring them to like an expo.
Right. Yeah, I remember those days.
These are Guyana ground beetles. They're they look like roly-polies. That's right. That's what they are. Yeah. They're similar. They're not roly-polies, but they're similar. They're really good for your animals.
Well, even back then, because I never really talked to you about any of this shit, but what got you into breeding the rats and thinking, hey, I can make money from this?
The pressure of film school, I guess. I don't know. I lost my brains. It just went nuts, living with a whole bunch of artsy people and just were like, yeah, let's breed rats. No. Man, what a time in my life. I was going to the School of Visual Arts in Manhattan for film, directing major. I also had started very early in my life when I was like 15 with reptiles. And as time progressed, when I got closer to college, like I started keeping some ball pythons. I got my first pastel for like $800.
Right.
Which was like a godsend at the time. This is back in 2003. So I actually, funny story is that I wrote a person that was selling pastels at the time and told them like how I was going to college, but I'm very passionate about ball pythons and keeping reptiles, and basically told him my whole story, and he gave me like a pastel for half off. He was like, awesome.
Oh, was that Ian over at Outback?
I don't even know if the gentleman is still in the industry. It was a guy, Scott Wysocki, 8-ball ball pythons back in the day. I don't even know. But we're talking many moons ago. So
yeah, no, it's nice to it's nice to see the dudes that were here 12 years ago still here, but
yeah,
there's very few of them.
Yeah.
And we
No,
met.
Ian is still, I mean, God, that guy is awesome. He's definitely a character. He has just a magic way with people, and I explain this all the time. He can say anything to your face, but he is so genuine, and that cut through all of the craziness and the madness that's probably going in his brain, like myself and other creative and serious business people. Like he really just knows how to get the job done, and make that you're a part of his business. Like he really likes to include you in what he's doing. So, and a pioneer in our industry for sure.
Big time. Big time.
I recently, I saw, I was probably about a year back already. I saw like pictures of him over in Africa, like old school, like just young Ian. And it was just like so awesome to see that, and I know the stories, but to visually see it, it was just like, man, what a just adventurous person, and to just like not even have a fear of like going and doing that back then, and being so young and just having the passion, obviously he got it done,
Oh, yeah, he was killing it. I remember our first White Plains show. They stuck us up on the stage next to Ian. And I was just like, what the fuck? We're never going to sell anything. Like you
gotta pack up, go home.
you may as well just fucking leave. But that was where we met at White Plains, right?
Yeah.
And how big was the rodent business back then for you? I know bigger companies, but how big was it for you?
At that point, I guess we'll Tarantino it a bit. Like, as I was explaining, like I was going through film school and started up. I actually started the business with a colleague at the time for a very brief period, and we started in a storage pod. It was like I was doing my thesis film, like getting all that going. I literally still have non-flashback nightmares about this, trying to I have like, oh, I'm going to fail film school. Like, my thesis film isn't done because they literally project it in a theater when you're complete, like a real movie theater. Like they bought a theater for it in Chelsea. And I'm like, I definitely, moment of madness, like trying to start a business and do that at the same time. But we started in a storage pod. My buddy called me up at the time. He's like, I got this great deal, and essentially sold me on the idea of an idea I pitched to him a while back, just seeing there was such a niche and like high demand for rodents, and not an available source for an affordable price, in the area. So, and at that time, like I spent my whole time in film school, like devouring every business book I could get my hands on. I started with the old school classic, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, that was handed to me, by one of my, old friends' fathers. They just gave it to me and they're like, hey, you should read this, and it went from there, and I just devoured up books, and they're like, do it while you're young. So I was like, all right, well, I don't like the way things are panning out in the film industry per se. And that's when I met my wife at the time. Well, my wife today. So like I met the woman that I knew would be the one and that I loved. And it was like two paths, the fork in the road, like I could go on, I can continue partying with all these crazy people and like go to California, try and live the dream and be dead by 50. Or, I found the woman I was looking for. And I really wanted to go out in a business venture. So I started there,
Right.
So that I met you slightly after that, and that's when we moved from like 1,200 square feet to like 3,500 square feet, which when I moved in that building, my dad was like, you are out of your mind. I could see like the stress sweat dripping off his brow, like when we walked in the building. First off, well, Tarantino it again. By the way, when your parents co-sign for massive loans, like you probably shouldn't graduate film school and be like, yeah, by the way, I'm breeding rats.
Right.
They literally had the biggest nervous breakdown, and I feel so bad about it, you know, like, oh my God, I could only imagine being a parent now, like when my son grows up, like, hey dad, you just like co-sign your house away like to back my loans, and I wanted to be a film director, but I'm gonna breed axolotls. I'd be like, holy smokes, okay, you know? Like they're literally having the biggest nervous breakdown, but I felt like in my heart and my gut, like was just like, you can do this and make money, you know?
Right.
And being that I graduated with that huge debt, like I didn't know how to make money. I was like, wow, like I have a mortgage payment for a school loan coming up, and how am I paying this? You know?
Right.
I don't like the fast pace of the film industry. I don't like the craziness of it. And I met the one that I thought would be the one to be, and ended up that way. So like, all right, then I'm gonna breed rats, you know, like I knew pets, like I was passionate about reptiles. I'm like, all right, I can do this, you know?
Right.
So
well, it's funny too, because when I moved back here from California, I met you about a year or two later. And in California, we had made millions, right, between the music and the business and everything, and we lost it all. And then when I told my father that I was going to breed ball pythons for a living, the look of disappointment on his face was like you could feel it. Okay, you could like you could feel it in your bones, you know.
Yeah.
So I understand where that's coming from, but it seems to have worked out, right? Because I remember like 4 years into it, when we were doing eyeballs and you were doing the rats, Danny asked, he goes, how's Brian doing? And I'm like, yeah, he's building a house on Long Island at the beach. He's like, well, what the fuck? We haven't done shit, you know?
Yeah. I mean, I wish it was a mansion. I mean, it is a very modest house that we bought. Always reserved in that respect. You know, it's nice though. It's up on the North Shore. We bought a house in a neighborhood that we kind of believed in, that would get better over time. And honestly, in New York, the price of everything is just forcing neighborhoods to be nice. You know, like it's insanity to live here. And every day when I go home, it's just like I don't want to be here anymore. Zesh, hold on. Where you going, bro? I'm working on my dragon training skills. Hold on.
Yeah.
Like I said, I'm quitting everything, and I'm just going to be a dragon trainer. So
here to dragons. Yeah.
That's it. That's it.
Well, and the rodent business was so. Would you say that the rodent business was as successful as the bug business? Because the bug really took off, at a certain time, maybe 2016, 2015.
Being that, I mean, we're 16 years into our business now. Success has become a whole different value to me, whether company or personally. Success is we prevailed through everything. So like to bounce bugs off of rats, I mean, rats led to the bugs. And if you know anything about me, it's like I am constantly in research mode, and I love R&D. And it's like, and it's funny that Reptile Deli RD, and I was actually working on like a new logo, like for our short for RD. I'm like, whoa, holy shit. Like that stands for R&D. It's kind of funny how that looped around, but right. Like I find myself, and I guess it's my madness, is always searching for the next. And that's where I've spent a lot of time. Like, I think success is like kind of planting and growing where your feet are planted, your roots are planted. And I've tried to like take that model over the years, and we had that backbone in our company of rodents. But now that that's gone, it's like, well, yes, we have very successful sectors in our company, but now it's like the business is starting from scratch again, you know? So it's an interesting time and an interesting feeling, you know? So I would say the rodents were very successful. And man, when we were packing up all the racks into storage before I sold them, I'm like looking at this and I'm like, this is a gold mine for the right person, you know?
Right.
Not in New York.
Right.
Go somewhere else. Like this business, it's a dirty business, you know. And I guess it's my Polish roots. Like both sides of my family from Poland, farming backgrounds. Like the farmer in me came out for all those years, and like I'll just work, you know. But all of that mentality changed when I had my accident a couple of years ago. It was just like, well, now I have to use this more. Like I still am so active, but I pay for it, you know?
Right.
So,
well, Well, let's talk about that. Cause I remember we were ordering rats from you at the time. And there was another guy that we were speaking with at the company. And he's like, forklift ran over Brian last night. So we're going to be a little behind on deliveries this week. So what happened with that? I always meant to ask you that. Like, fucking
man, and
that fucking you got Jeremy Renard, man. You know,
it
was fucked up.
It's such a pivotal point in my life. Like, honestly, like I don't want to get like emotional but I've learned to not hold back emotion because it's awesome and it's the way we express ourselves, you know. And it's something that you can't just stuff away every day. Because to sit there and be like, yeah, okay, like we have our normal work day. I'm like comfortable with the machine. I'm like, all right, let's hop around the front. I was actually going to take a picture because we just got a feed load in. And like, I was like, every time we get a load of feed in, at that time we were consuming a tractor trailer load like every like 5 to 6 weeks, like tremendous amounts of feed. And it's like, wow, I wanted to reflect and like be like, hey, you know, like there's our feed, like, and celebrate. And it was like, God took my ego and just smashed it right down. He was like, dude, put that ego away. You know, there's far more planned for you in life, but I'm going to make you think about it, you know?
Stop trying to take a picture for the gram. Fucking, you're living the life I gave you.
And I think that's one of the biggest struggles. And one thing that I've been thinking a lot about, like recently, is like small business, and especially in our business, like it's amazing. The marketplace is just filled with so many of us. And it's like, it's a small business with a massive presence. Like we're forced to work so hard for our passions in this industry. Like, and people don't look at it that way, but it really, it like you're farming, you know, like whether you're doing it out of like a hobby size in your basement or, you know, you're farming, you know, it's work. But we put that aside. We're blinded by it because if you put a normal person off the street, like to start doing that didn't necessarily like understand or care about reptiles, they'd be like, you're out of your mind, you know, like you're cleaning crap. Like, are you crazy? Like you're going to get bit, you know? And we have to have this enormous presence all the time. And really like the exposure, and being that I was always like the guy that was buried down in the office or like buried into like cleaning rodents or figuring out the process or really learning the animals and really studying them and understanding them. Like it just like I've done a lot of reflecting in the respect of like the average person in this industry and how much presence you have to have, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And
well,
how
it's way different than it was even 4 years ago, right?
Yeah. And I think it's just a general change in small business in general. Like with COVID just shaking everything up, it's forced everybody home, and it just completely changed the whole like infrastructure of our country, like light years ahead, you know, as far as like retail and the end user of products. It's mind blowing, really, you know.
How was business during COVID? Because being technically a farmer, you were an essential worker, right?
Yes. So we were an essential business because we provided feed for animals. So I remember at first it was almost like, oh, this is a joke. Like we like it didn't seem realistic. Like this is going to happen.
Right.
I just got back from the Global Pet Expo. I just like solidified the deal with Reptile and my manufacturers overseas, and I was like, like this is gonna happen. Like.
Right.
I, and here I am 3 years later, and I'm like, what just happened to me?
Right.
Like what happened to us? It's like, does anybody know? Because I can't figure it out, like really, to wrap my head around it. It's just like you get lost of like those years felt so long, but it was only 3 years.
Right. Right. Well, how
You know,
did the rat business basically survive during that? Because I know
um,
the ball python people were getting record sales during
uh,
COVID.
it was amazing to watch.
That led
Even
to a demand for more feeders, right?
Yeah, so feed business was great. Like I watched all my retail stores just crush it. It was like awesome to see because people are kind of they were forced to home. So, they started buying patio furniture, upgrading the house, decorating things and making things nice. And it's like, oh, well, I want a connection with another animal other than my dog or cat. I'm sick of you, I want something scaly, something interesting,
Right.
And it definitely was a killer time. And that's where the head of COVID, when things started to like, I thought tough part of COVID is like, oh, well, we're closed down. And like, it's like, I'm at Home Depot and the speakers are going outside and it's like Warsaw up in there. Like you could not, I'm like, what? Like, it's just like wrapping your head around that stuff when you think about it now. And even then it's just like, it's just, what was that,
Right. Well,
but like just
the cost of everything went up for you too, right? Because
yeah
everything was going astronomical, 30, 40, 50% above what you guys would pay for things.
yeah so and I think that was an adjustment of marketplace, because I saw a lot of my wholesalers really, who were manufacturers of like, say, insects, who were mainly just manufacturer wholesale, saw that opportunity to really like jump online and get retail end of it. And from a business perspective, man, I would be doing the same exact thing, which I was for all these years, but it also, because of the demand was so high, it just took wholesale price and started rising too. And I think also it was the massive boom of new online businesses too. It was just like ridiculous. I used to talk to it about this with my insurance guy, like all the time. I'd be like, how many businesses are opening right now?
Right.
When do you think they're all going to fail? Because small businesses don't make it really more than a year or two, like really, when is this, what is going on, and I guess that's just kind of just always looking at the bigger picture and trying to grasp things. It's like just the overall growth, like I was saying about like supply chains, like it completely changed in my mind overnight, in America. 3 years is a very short time. And now we have manufacturers going direct to the public. I mean, that always was there, but it's almost entirely gone where you have like a wholesale middleman, working and moving all these products. And I've had this discussion with a lot of pet industry people where it's like there's only 2 to 3 distributors left in America, as far as moving pet products. The rest is everybody that are growing businesses and emerging, which is awesome to see, like new manufacturing and like all these PVC companies coming out and like acrylic companies. Like these guys are doing amazing, beautiful work. at the same time, like, how are you doing this with material costs, and like, how are you doing this with labor costs? But I look at it from a New York perspective,
Right.
So
Yeah.
basically the answer is don't be in Long Island, New York and be doing business,
Yeah. No shit. Or in Westchester, New York.
Yeah.
Did you notice as far as the the rat business went, there was a lot more in-house competition from, when I say in-house, I mean just from like your average idiot who owns a house down the block bought a shed and they're producing rats now. Because
Yeah.
one of the benefits of you guys was that you guys would deliver live rats to us.
And thank you for highlighting that. It's just, I think it was one of those things where, like, we performed a service for, so many years. And like, in the very beginning, like, I was the one like cleaning rats and loading them up into the van and delivering them and, doing the back end of the business. And, and I actually delivered all of our own product for like the first 5 years of the business, and then I transitioned that and handed it down to the next. And, as the business grew, I did see some of those things start to get lost in translation, which was disheartening. And that was some of the determining factors to like close down that sector of our business too, is that it got so difficult with just overheads on Long Island to like perform that service anymore. And then people didn't want to pay extra for that service. So, and it was just because, I mean, man, like, I don't blame you. You're feeding your snake collections and like, your biggest overhead really is like the feed cost. I totally get it, like, and, but now that we're gone with that, everybody, when they see me, they're like, oh man, like, you got out, like, couldn't you have sold that part of the business, and we sold all the contents of our business, but to sell it as a whole and to uproot 30,000 rats and move them across the country or whatnot, it can be done. But the time frame that we were on and the decisions I had to make related to COVID and post-COVID business, like, I just had to be like, all right, that's it, shut it down. Like, it isn't working out, and the hands that were dealt were so quick through making really good money in COVID and seeing exceptional volumes, but also like our trajectory of growth was like this, which is unsustainable,
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Unsustainable. And so it's definitely been like a huge time of reflection. And like I said, like looking at things from a very big picture and really just reflecting on myself too, as far as the learning experience from this all. And I just had this discussion with a staff member too, and it was like, I have very large expectations of employees, because I would only expect just as much of them as I would myself. It's just, and those are big shoes to fill. And I've been fortunate enough to have really good employees over the years, and I love you guys. Like, it worked really hard for me, and we've done some amazing things in this company, and we continue to do that. And as we restructure this business and get our footing to grow and our roots to grow in these other sectors, it all came down to my process and my people. I was a big Marcus Lemonis fan when his show came out, and I took those simple words of like people, product, and process, and like that's something that just really grew inside of me, and really took that and started to implement it into like my overall aspect and look of my business. And now it's like reflecting and just really seeing the whole picture of this massive small business that we grew, and envisioning that future, so.
Right. Well, and now Reptile Deli is more an everything company. You went from like being the rat guy to being an everything guy, right? Because now you're doing enclosures, you're doing dry goods, you're still doing the bugs, you're doing new glass cages that you were talking about. Talk to me a little bit about the company now versus the company 5 years ago. Please excuse this brief interruption for a word from one of our sponsors. How fucking thrilled am I to have Focus Cubed Habitats joining the Snakes and the Fatman family. They are literally the best display cages that I've ever owned. I was a fan of this husband and wife team of builders from when they were putting out these amazing pieces of fucking art from their garage. Stephen and Ashley have been keeping reptiles for years, and as experienced keepers, they understand how important your animals are in your life. Focus Cubed Habitats provide security and comfort for your animals while maintaining these insane, badass designs that everyone can appreciate. They give you the opportunity to make their home part of your home. You want options? They've got options. Every Focus Cubed Habitat is custom made to your specs, and you could choose from hundreds of options on their website. Too many options? Ashley and Steven have a huge selection of blog-style articles and complete accessory fact pages on their website to help educate consumers about add-ons that will best fit their individual needs. Listen, at the end of the day, these fucking cages are showpieces. Every cage that Focus builds will be the centerpiece of your reptile room. Hell, they could be the centerpiece of your fucking living room. If you have reptiles that you want to display, look no further than Focus Cubed Habitats. You can follow them on Instagram, Facebook, and even fucking TikTok. Or just go old school and go right to FocusCubedHabitats.com and tell them that the Fat Man told you to drop them a line. Doesn't matter what reptile you're feeding, the Reptile Deli has it all. I'm beyond excited to have my old friend Brian Kaczmarczyk bringing the Reptile Deli to the strip mall that is Snakes and the Fatman. I've watched Brian grow this business from a fucking storage pod to a 25,000 square foot facility in a state where they make it almost impossible for a small business to succeed, let alone grow. Reptile Deli has been producing some of the industry's best feeder rodents for almost 15 years. Their rodents are grown under the best conditions and regularly tested for quality to be sure they're in optimal health before they ship them right to your door. Reptile Deli also has a roach issue. They've spent years raising dubia roaches and have put insane efforts into R&D so that your pet reptiles get the very best. They offer cup dubia roaches, bulk dubia roaches, and wholesale dubia roaches in a variety of sizes. Are you one of those bioactive people? The deli offers simply the best isopods and springtails in the business, with cutting-edge isopod and springtail technology that brings in unbelievable shelf life with biostable microhabitat culture cups. They have an incredible selection of isopods for sale, from rare species all the way down to the common roly-polies, man. Reptile Deli has grown into a cutting-edge feed manufacturer and are distributors of the most advanced reptile products. But don't take my word for it. Take the word of over 800 retail locations across North America that are selling their products. Check them out now at reptiledeli.com.
Man, things were a lot simpler, years ago in the fact of scope of our company. But things were just as complicated in a different respect because the liability and responsibility of running an animal facility the size we did, with all of those rats on Long Island, New York, we had to take it always a step above what people's expectations would be. And this industry and the setups I've seen for rodents, like most setups that I see posted on Instagram these days, it's disheartening. It really is. Like rodents, they are animals that are constantly defecating and urinating. Like, you need to be like hospital clean with these animals, and that's when I started developing and growing over the years. I put so much time and energy into research and bettering process and environment. Like, we were able to take that business from a storage pod and grow it to a herd of 30,000 rats and do it on Long Island and not have any issues, and because we did good business, we did everything by the books, and that's my best advice for people that want longevity in their companies. It's painstaking to do it the right way. It really is, but it definitely speaks volumes for like the bigger scope when you're trying to run a business. Obviously this industry is fueled by hobbyists, and I love you guys. I'm still a hobbyist myself. I'm sitting with a bearded dragon on my shoulder. Like, it's deep down in my heart, but really making a living at this, and especially being in New York with our overheads, like, I have to think big. If you talk to any business owner on Long Island, New York, you talk to them and they need to make a tremendous amount of revenue every year and to achieve profitability because of our overheads,
Right.
And that's where during this transition of our company, like, we still carry rodents over the years, and we're going to still carry frozen rodents. We're just outsourcing that to our trusted resources for our frozen, we just can't do it here. I wish we could have. I built a massive new building just for the rodents during COVID and had to pivot a lot because I was feeling uncomfortable with the local market, and I was worried about inflation that was ahead, and the rodent market not catching up fast enough. These guys that weathered through that, and the only reason why we didn't weather through it is because we diversified into other areas in our company that I was more passionate about, at the time. Breeding rats for 6 to 15 years at the time, that's a long haul. Like, I mean, I would step in that building and still just be like, and I would look at a rat and pick it up and I'd be like, man, this is awesome. These animals are so intelligent, and they're amazing, and they provide an amazing source of fuel and energy for other animals. Just like watching the whole life cycle. And at one point earlier in my company, I had ball pythons, back when I first met you, Chris, like we dealt with some ball pythons back and forth, and just watching that complete cycle was just really cool. And I guess it's, like I said, that farming route in my genes, that was really awesome to be able to witness. And we're doing it in smaller scales now, other than our insects, which we've been scaling and growing to meet the demands of like newer contracts that we got for our isopods and our dubia roaches. So it's just way less liability and headache because rodents are destructive animals.
Yeah.
And talk about like pivotal like moments, and really a true test on like faith in what I'm doing in life. Like, that was when lightning had hit our building, and it was the middle of the summer. It happened overnight, and it killed off one leg of electricity. And so when we're talking about legs of electricity, we need 220 volts, 2 legs to run all of our appropriate like machines for our environmental control. Well, our security system happened to be on the leg that still had power.
Right.
So I go on my cameras and I look at temperature monitoring before I go to sleep. I used to do that every night. I had alarms built in. Well, everything looked kosher. And I went to sleep and woke up, and for some reason it didn't kick any alarm messages like to temperatures rising and such. And we walked in the morning and the place was like in nuclear meltdown mode. It was horrific, and I remember just like, and again, like just total like thankfulness and props to my team at the time is they came in strong and they're like, okay, they got right to work and we started problem solving. I kind of just had like a moment to myself where I basically had a mental breakdown at the time and just sat in my truck, and my dad, being the soul that he is, showed up and gave us all waters and was like, guys, you can get through this, honestly, at that point, I was like, my company is done. I had purchased a huge order of caging from Freedom Breeder at the time, and I had so much in the works at that moment that I was just like, I even tried to cancel like that order, and I tried to cancel, plans that were in motions for months. But once you pull triggers on big business decisions, you can't just say, I don't want it, like you have to go through. And so after I realized like, okay, well, insurance isn't going to pay me anytime soon. We were able to clean up and manage this disaster in the best and most functional way possible. We had that situation wrapped up and cleaned up within probably 24 hours and had the place spick and span and back and running. Thankfully, I had a backup machine, and we were able to get electric back to the building to like function properly because one machine was damaged. So we had two machines, and we were able to, we always had backup upon backup upon backup. And, talk about liability, like that's a lot of animals. They're live animals. Like you have to be prepared, and who would think that a bolt of lightning would come down in the middle of the night, right. and cause such damage, but it happens, and especially when you're dealing with live animals, these are the things that you have to be thinking about, So if you are at home right now and you have eggs cooking in your incubator, you need to spend a couple of bucks and get a Wi-Fi device and get alert to your phone. It's like probably the best thing you can do, like, because I've heard so many stories of those, of stories like that where people lose like power and they didn't know and they weren't notified. Well, we got to create backup systems because, man, didn't you put in so much work taking care of those animals to reap that reward, that benefit? Like, it's always checks and balances, especially when you're doing things on scale, but also, when you're doing it on a hobbyist scale, like you're putting a lot of effort, care, and you obviously love the animals. So like creating these systems is probably one of the most important things you can do, whether it be micro because you're a hobbyist, or like we were large scale, like you have even larger systems,
Well,
So
now that you're not doing the rats, is there some like sense of relief that it's a worry that you don't have to include in your daily routine? Because I'm sure the other sectors that you're running are just as worrisome, but they're probably, not as worrisome because you're not dealing with live animals on the majority of the other sectors.
yeah, well, I would say more than 50% of our company now is dry good related, which is a relief in the respect that like we don't have to worry about it as far as care goes, other than being in our temperature controlled warehouse and wrapping it up and sending it out to customers, like, and
Right.
I mean, that whole side of the business was and continues to be an incredible like learning experience because it's a whole different beast. It's an entirely different beast, like breeding rats was like, essentially with the market that I built it around, which was mostly local market, it was like farm to table, like, hey, we produce the rats, we'll deliver them to you, and we'll give you a good product, and the dry goods is a whole different beast. But the insects are, I would say, even more so delicate than the rodents as far as tolerances go, environmental factors. So we definitely relieved myself of a lot of stress in that respect, and going back to like the liability of having so many animals, and the responsibility that comes along with that is just tremendous. It's something like you wake up in the morning and the first thing you're thinking about is the animals. You're thinking about what could be going wrong because especially dealing with the rodents, being that if they got out, like they're so destructive, or environmental factors that could stress them, and really trying to keep that optimal. There are ways to automate that, and we were pushing towards that with we built an incredible model for a mouse room, and I think that's probably one of the most upsetting parts about shutting down rodent production was we built this beautiful state-of-the-art mouse facility that was all done with optimized caging, which is like laboratory standard, and they're all individually ventilated, and they're on spindles where you fit 100 cages in like a 2x2 footprint. And it was done beautifully, and like it was something that could be potentially automated in the future, and that's something that like anything that we're doing to scale this day and age, you have to be thinking about automation. There was definitely lots of possibilities and factors to automate processes, with possibly some robotic factors. Because our environments were always automated. Obviously, technology was a lot more affordable than a robot, which when they become affordable, that's going to be one of the first things I buy, and I say that not because I want to replace people. I love people. I love my employees. It's more so fact that like when it comes to working with the animals, like you need to have that consistent repetition that never changes. And it's something, it was like one of the first things I did back then, and my other staff members have taken this on, or myself, when we hire somebody, it's like, do not change my process. Do not change a thing.
Right.
It's a simple phrase, but you'd be amazed over the years, the things that like people have come up with going through this, and it's just like, whoa, pump the brakes, hold on, don't. No, I really, really, really appreciate like your enthusiasm and like the ideas and the creativity you want to come up with, but this is not the place to do it in this facet of the business. It's like it needs to be the same for the reason that we already did all that research. We already went through all the struggles and, saw even up to a lightning bolt hitting the building, like all the variables and factors that can go down, like
Right.
so well, we veterinarian certified everything too. Like we went through all of that background of it,
Right.
So I guess that chapter closing was a big relief in that as you grow a business, there's never a time that everything can be so perfect, and it'd be nice to think that way because every business likes to have that image out there, and that's what we strive for, obviously. But to be able to run everything optimal and prime with that many live animals is a huge undertaking. So to shut down an animal department is definitely a huge relief,
Well, and what did you do with all that space, all the rat space?
We started consolidating and actually getting rid of space so that we could focus on our current base that we're working on now.
Okay.
So,
and what's your bug production every year? Like I know nothing about bug production, so I don't even know the space you would need. I don't know how you would keep them. Obviously, they got to be temperature controlled. Obviously, they have to be maintained every day, right? Like,
yeah.
Give me a ballpark on the amount of dubia roaches that you produce every year.
Okay, so it would be in the millions annually. That was actually an interesting project too, because in my original rodent warehouse, like I had a colleague come and visit, and he points up to like a loft space. And he's like, "See that space up there? If you can learn how to make money out of there, I bet you it'll make more money than this whole facility." Well, I tried crickets, I tried mealworms, I tried, superworms, I tried every little thing in that space, and boom, like roaches, who would have known? And it was just trusting the gut feeling, and after really deep diving and researching and understanding the animal more, it was like, wow, these will be an optimal feeder in our industry.
Right.
Once you get over the whole skeeve factor, the stigma of the roach name, and wow, so that's where we were able to grow that. So we started a loft space, and then we went into a smaller warehouse that was 2,500 square foot, and then we just moved it into a bigger facility that was it was 8,000 square feet, and it was planned out for our rodent production. So when we were planning that, like, I had the floors, the walls, the ceilings, everything epoxied. Like, it's like it was being set up for, we were pushing with our rodents to go laboratory grade, being that like our blood generations were over 200 blood generations deep of the rats and clean for 10 years. That's where we were really looking to push, and where I was like, okay, well, to survive in the market in the Northeast, like, we would have to dive into something like that. But it was taking me too far off my path as far as thought process and, strategizing from my passion of reptiles, So that's where it was just like, all right, well, now we have this beautiful building that we put a fortune into the building environment. We put a crazy like HVAC system in there with like HEPA filtration, energy recovery wheel system, all stainless steel components, after going through all these years of, literally when I first started the rodents in a warehouse setting, like, we used to throw out our rooftop ACs like almost annually. It was disgusting,
Right.
Like the cost of doing like the rodents on a very controlled, what I like to call professional scale, like, it's so costly. We should put in a $12,000 AC, $15,000 AC, and then the next season just throw it out,
Right.
like, until I could find, after going through like 12 HVAC people, like, oh, well, we could start, like, because I would ask questions. I'd be like, well, can't we prevent this from happening? Like, we kept on having evaporator coils like get eaten away. I'm like, well, people live on the beach here, and they'd be like, oh, well, they do this coating or that. I'm like, well, why aren't we doing it here?
Right.
So lots of painful learning, and unfortunately, when you're getting involved in this industry, there's books out there, but there's no books that say, okay, so this is how you breed rats, like,
Right.
for the pet industry, and obviously, like, standards are rising on a very rapid rate. And like, going back to what I was saying about like so much exposure and transparency these days, through like, it's pushing like animal care standards up higher and higher, which I like to see, because I've always tried to achieve the best possible scenarios for these animals. It doesn't make the stress factor any less on our industry, though. So there needs to be like a very happy medium there, to make things achievable, because I used to think about like, and especially with the rats, like, all right, what if like they change and they start really coming down and regulating? And that's something that we are the whole reptile industry has been seeing, throughout history of our industry, but more so than ever is just like the pressure of regulation always banging on the back door, and I think that there needs to be an overall less fear about that, and we need to continue to work. And I've seen some tremendous things happen over the last couple of years, which are just amazing, is just coming together as an industry and educating. Education is the most powerful tool, and like knowledge is power, G.I. Joe. It's like, like education is everything. And unfortunately, a lot of this pressure and everything comes from just miseducated people, and the lack of understanding. So there goes a very good benefit to the exposure and transparency on, say, Instagram or these social media channels is like that knowledge is able to be passed now like this. When I was starting a rodent business, the internet was not nearly even close to the way it was today,
Right.
and I had to actually like go out and buy physical veterinarian manuals and laboratory guides and like really try to like dig in and do this research. And now we have AI to do everything for us. So, pretty soon we don't even have to work at all. We'll just get checks in the mail.
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
The scariest thing you could ever think about,
Now, what are you're doing these glass cages, these all glass cages, and you're doing bigger ones than Petco sells or Exotera or ZoomEd. What's going on with those? How are they constructed, and what's the marketing plan for those?
So that's been like one of the most successful parts of our business, was starting with these knockdown terrariums, and they are manufactured with, and I'm not doing a sales pitch. This is coming from the hobbyist in me, because I never wanted to get in dry goods. And to just kind of Tarantino back real quick again, is like when I was at Global 3 years ago before COVID, and I went there and I was just like, all right, we're just going to look at feed and just focus on our scope of business. Well, come the second day, like we passed by this manufacturer, and I was like, man, there's really something going on there. And let's go take a look at it and dive in. And I'm like, wow, like the materials and the engineering of everything was just so impressive. I was like, I haven't seen anything like this in this industry in, at that point, 13 years of being in this industry, as a company, but 20 plus years as an avid hobbyist. I was like, right. Wow, like what this is really something. So just the fact of like they could be flat packed and they're watertight, it opens up that whole market to bioactive people, and this trend of keeping things more to like a zoo standard or more natural habitat, and being able to do it, but also being able to get a bigger enclosure, because we haven't seen this until as of late really in the US, but overseas in those markets, like they have legitimate standards. Like they have to keep ball pythons, I've heard, in as small as like a 4-foot enclosure,
Right.
And these are things we could see in our industry. I mean, I don't necessarily entirely agree with the whole aspect of that, being that, they come from termite mounds, and when we really start to dive into the actual what I like to call, and I've been like really deep diving into this, is micro habitats of these reptiles, because a lot of the smaller species, I mean, they're living in areas of like 12 inches, right. The micro species. Exactly. So we really have to take in the environmental factor of the habitat of these animals, and it's only going to come through further education and exploration through our industry and hobbyists, and being able to share and give this feedback. And I think one of the most frustrating things that I've seen in this industry is the people that know it all, and right. And really going out and preaching just one standard of like, this is the way to keep this. And honestly, like the amount of research going into the actual aspect of pet keeping of these animals is like so new. It's just on the cusp of really blossoming, which is great for our industry, because I think we're going to see just continued tremendous growth as far as reptiles as pets, and so like these bigger enclosures just give the opportunity to give more space for the animals, and to make it feasible. We're able to take like a 6-foot terrarium now and it's all glass, which is beautiful. It makes it easy to clean. It's durable material where it's going to last a very long time. It's not like some of the other caging out there. And I'm not opposed to these other styles of caging. I actually envy a lot of people that don't deal in glass, because I look at this and I'm like, man, I went from breeding rats and now I'm dealing with a warehouse full of glass. What was I thinking?
Right.
Am I out of my mind?
Well,
You know?
these glass terrariums is there no frame? There's no plastic frame
So
around
it's
it?
a plastic extrusion on the frame, okay? And the thing that was so groundbreaking with this is that they're stackable within the same footprint. So to be able to stack like habitats, like everybody, you know, used to hodgepodge, or they would have to build shelving and, you know, really have to like put together all of these solid glass terrariums and lines. And, you know, this makes it a lot more convenient and feasible for people to put the animals in a nice footprint, but also be clean, look modern, and be able to stack them linear, you know, up and down and expand lengthwise. It just makes the possibilities just so much more, you know.
Right. That's cool as hell. I'd like to see a few pictures of those.
Yeah,
Um,
for sure.
and so now basically you're breeding reptiles again, right?
Yeah. So I have Zesh on my shoulder. Kind of like during this whole like reflection period of the years and the whole process of strategy and envisioning, you know, the future of this company, which has always been where I spend a tremendous amount of time and energy. Just kind of led me back to some of my grassroots, and it's a micro project in our business. But I was like, hey man, I got to do something right now with all the stress that has gone on from COVID through business changes, and I just want to do something that I enjoy. You know, like for the aspect of like when everybody goes home at the end of the day, I go into our bearded dragon room and I just spend time with the animals. And what's been it where this all was conceived, and going back to my roots with keeping some reptiles, was my son. You know, he's 4.5 now, but he had his first bearded dragon at 2.5. Okay, obviously I wasn't letting him suck on it like a pacifier, but you know, was getting him familiar with animals and teaching him the discipline of like the taking care of, and teaching him about like feeding the animal, and like it's okay that animals consume other animals. You know, it's part of life. And you know, like when we touch these reptiles, we have to wash our hands. It's very important, like being sanitary. And you know, the husbandry aspect of reptiles and is an incredible learning tool. You know, just for disciplinary reasons and for the appreciation of life, and to have the responsibility for another life, I think is just tremendous, you know? And so when my son, we started growing up Mewtwo, who is one of our other bearded dragons, and just watching the sheer enjoyment of that, I grew that passion again. And I think that's what happens over and over in this industry, is that new knowledge just being passed down to the next generation. And that responsibility of keeping and the factors that go into it. And there's so many variables, and it just creates this alluring factor like to this animal, you know, because it's not like, it's so different from like, you know, say you get a guinea pig and you set it up and here's your water bottle and you change it and you keep it clean. You know, like we're setting up micro environments, these habitats that are very complex these days to keep all of these, which some of them being kept in captivity are even endangered at this point. You know, all these micro species of lizards and frogs and that's where the importance of the reptile hobbyist and reptile industry comes into play. Is like we've been doing that research and we've been contributing that knowledge forward, and like keeping these animals wasn't easy back in the day. Like we didn't have the quality of products that are coming out, and that's where I got behind the ReptiZoo brand, and like their products made everything so much easier for the consumer, So as that happens, like we're able to keep animals easier. It makes the diversity of species we're able to keep in captivity so much larger, like, so that factor alone for like the pet industry is enormous, like we can keep all of these species of reptiles now successfully.
And you're talking on the keeper end of things, not necessarily the breeder end of things, right?
Yeah, the keeper and breeder aspect, because I guess keepers and breeders, I don't know where that line divides, but keeping them as a pet, is one thing. But I think, and I joke about this every time I sell a ReptiZoo unit, is like, I always say, well, they're high grade materials, this, that, and the other thing. But, as your reptile habit grows, because we know we can't just have one, you're able to put it in the same footprint, or you're able to organize this where it looks nicely in your home. There seems to be this factor where when people get one reptile, they usually don't stop there, even the pet factor, because the amount of species in the family is just enormous, like, so.
Yeah, I always joke about the ball python people. And I'm like, there's very few people that act out their love of ball pythons, because, I mean, probably 1% of my friends only have one ball python, right? Like everybody else has 30 ball pythons and their plan is to make money off it, right?
Yeah.
But the thing that I like seeing now is like these, these red owl, crocodile skinks, and there's so many other things that you can keep now. The Euromastics are making a big comeback. A couple of European lizards are making a big comeback, and the people I see with more now, with more different reptiles now, you could really tell that the love is still there. Whereas if you have 30 ball pythons, it becomes a job.
Yeah.
That you plan, that your hope is that you'd make money. And the ball python market now is still very good, but I think it's very good for the $2,500 animal. I don't think it's good for the $200 animal, because face it, ball python people are not going to keep their animals in 4-foot cages. They're just not going to do it. They're going to put them in tubs in a rack, and they're going to say this is the way that they live in the wild. So I'm not worried about it.
Yeah.
So the terrariums that you're putting out, I think is probably more apt for like just cooler animals. Non-pet rocks, fucking animals that move around, every day, and you could actually enjoy.
Absolutely. And, I've seen like some blowback on racks online and stuff like that in comments. And you know what? I'm not entirely opposed to rack systems, because it depends on the species of the animal. And we have to remember that a lot of these breeders out there, like, how do you think they're going to accomplish this? Okay. We have to think about this now. Okay. It's just like rats. Like when I was breeding rats, if I were to put a one rat per 40-gallon terrarium and I had to do a warehouse, I could have never, ever survived in business,
Right.
So then we have to think about it from a laboratory approach. How would this be kept in a lab environment? And how and you see that and you see more and more people using like gloves and taking these factors into their collections at home. And I think that's been great for the industry as a whole, because I'm hearing less and less about virus factors going across collections, bacterial factors. And when I first got into this industry, like people's entire collections were getting wiped out overnight,
I remember. Yeah.
it was crazy, and it was because the fact that a lot of the blood lineage was coming out of the wild at the time, and you're going to deal with those factors because you're taking an animal and you're stressing it out. Like it just was packed in a crate. It was shipped over here, and it was stressed out of its mind. And it was in Africa one day, and now it's in your home in America. But that has grown through all of these passionate hobbyists that have, or breeders, that have been in the conception of this industry from day one, and really took that, and they are the founders and backbone of the U.S. bloodline, per se,
Right.
and the same thing happened with dogs and cats, and many, many thousands of years ago, when they came into America. It's like this all has to start somewhere, and
Right.
and I'm sure the stories of like the first cats and dogs being brought into this country wasn't pretty at all. There's got to be a starting point and root factor to every beginning, and I think just alone the 16 years that I've been in this industry, like the growth and the transformation of like just animal keeping as a whole is just mind-blowing, and it's amazing to watch, and it's exciting actually, and talking about like keeping ball pythons and racks and such, like by all means I have nothing against that. It's just the husbandry standards, like you have to realize, and like you said, it becomes work after you get one or two animals. Like you're taking care of many animals at that point. Like it becomes work, like you have to be committed to that factor that, okay, now I'm going to have 30 animals to take care of. Do not do this to make money. Don't get into it, please. Like, if there's anything that any of these big guys out there that are breeding animals on a large scale that will tell you, it's a lot of work, and I don't want to deter the hobbyist industry or anything. That's not my intentions here. It's just the sheer fact that do it for the love of the animal. This isn't like a get rich quick scheme. There was times like that in this industry, and you know what? Everybody I talk to that have been successful in a business nature in this industry has stuck with it through the times. And as you'll notice, like our industry goes through so many cycles, and it's because of that chasing of going this way or that way. And okay, that's fun. You could get bored of a species and move on. That's cool, and that's what keeps our entire industry moving and changing and evolving. And but don't get into it for the fact that, hey, I'm going to get this animal and it was $30,000, and I'm going to breed it to that animal and I'm going to be a million. It doesn't happen. I mean, you have a better chance of getting struck by lightning. Like you have to do it because you love it and enjoy it, and there's lots of reward and benefit for taking that approach, because there is money to be made, the sheer math of it is there. But when you start going past a dozen animals, you're farming now, it's a whole different beast. You're farming in very general terms, or you're running a lab, or a zoo, with all of those professional institutions. Like that's what the scope of what you should be thinking in your mind now. Well, now I have a zoo at home, like that. It comes with responsibility.
Right. Well, and basically it is kind of like a closeout question, but where do you see Reptile Deli in 5 years, in 10 years? Is it going more the Zilla and the ZooMed route, or is it going more of you kind of doing your own thing to separate yourselves from those type of companies?
I'm going to be doing everything in my power to always be separating, because everybody always asks, well, how are you going to compete with this or that? And I'm a true entrepreneur at heart, but also I truly enjoy reptiles, so And I'm always looking for how we can better things, whether it either be a piece of equipment, whether it be a animal care process, whether it be a color mutation in a species, So 5 years from now, Reptile Deli, it can be an entire different beast. And being that we just shed a huge piece of our company, which was the rodent production in-house, during this restructuring time, it would be of me to misspeak if I were to say, like, hey, this is the exact place we'll be in 5 years from now. I could have told you that in our old business model, and I don't want to give away full strategy at this point with the whole new business model, because as you know, like, I'm sure you've heard it too, like through the years, any my employees would come back to me, they would always be like, what's Brian up to now? Like, everybody asks that question. Okay. Well, I guess it's part of my madness. It could be brilliance. Who knows? But it's that passion and drive. And right now, we're going to be focusing on our immediately, and is our insect production, of course, and this new dry goods business. I think there's a lot of potential there. It is a very competitive market. It is a very hard market to get into. So I couldn't tell you the exact scope of the dry goods in the next 5 years, because when we got involved in this, we brought in over 600 SKUs of dry goods.
Okay.
So,
Right.
I mean, we're talking sheer madness, but the best way to learn, and the most painful way to learn, and this is the way that I've learned through my entire business process, is the Harvard Business School for Knox. It's like,
Right.
is to deep dive and really dive into it and commit to it, and get the full knowledge and perspective of what it is, and see if it's something that we really want to do, whether it be a smaller scope of SKUs or we continue on that path. The future will only tell that, So the do it everything model, like you kind of said before, is something that I'm looking to get out of, to kind of scope in from now, because do everything model is something that really isn't sustainable, so through this hardcore like research phase and new strategy growth and development in my company, like there will be some big announcements over the next year of like positions and changes. We have a lot in the works, so that scope is going to be narrowed down. Obviously, we have our current model in motion, but what is next is yet to be determined.
Okay. All right. Well, you, my friend, you're a pretty charming motherfucker, man. How could people get in touch with you?
People can get in touch with me directly.
Well, you probably don't want to give.
I'm like Batman,
Yeah.
No. So I am very in tune to our Instagram as of late. Obviously, like, there's a lot that goes on in our company, so my hat is always changing where we are putting new focus on or changing focus or scope. So lately, to get in touch with me directly, you can obviously email us, info@reptiledeli.com, and my team will get a message to me immediately. We've had some customer service issues through COVID, and as of late, and it's been disheartening to watch, and I will always own something, and it's been a very hard transition in that respect. So we do have a lot in the works to fix those issues, and we have been working very hard to automate processes and to make things easier in the contact aspect, because we grew so fast and we had so many factors going on in our company. That is probably our biggest flaw that happened through that process. So that's been a very large focus of us. So if you want to get in contact with me, usually like the fastest route would be Instagram. I've been on there a lot personally, other than like team members helping out here and there. So, but obviously through our website would be one of the best ways to communicate, to reptiledeli.com. And then for any wholesale people, obviously we have a lot of products to offer on a wholesale basis, large volume basis would be through RDIPP.com, which is Reptile Deli International Pet Products. So that is our portfolio site that we kind of threw together over the last couple of years, and that will give you access to our B2B for wholesale purchasing. So like I said, there's a lot of facets to this company, and it's quite a beast. With all of the dry goods aspect, one thing that was just conceived at Global, this past Global, is with my manufacturing partners overseas. I am now the president of Reptile Sales for the East Coast region. So anybody that wants to get manufacturer direct, they can contact me now, and you can contact me obviously through Instagram was at one avenue. For wholesale, Reptile Deli at Gmail is one of my most checked emails as well. So we can start using that avenue for communication for all new wholesale inquiries.
Beautiful. All right, so basically Reptile Deli everywhere.
Yep, that's it.
Beautiful. My friend, thank you so much for taking the time to hang out with me for a little bit. People are going to fucking love this. I think they're going to learn a lot of shit. So I appreciate it. And let's have you back on and get me out to your facility. I mean, it's probably 40 minutes from me, right? So
yeah, let's do it.
Come down and do a video from there.
Okay. So, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I'd love to do it. We'll play with some bearded dragons.
Yeah, there you go. All right, brother. Well, thank you again, man. Just hang out in the green room for a minute, and I'll be right back with you.
All right, sounds good.
Geeky Geckos is Arizona's largest gecko breeder, and they're helping usher the Fatman into the leopard gecko space. They have a really popular YouTube channel for education, care, and breeding, and all that other fun shit. And they have an active community on Instagram, Facebook, and Discord over at Geeky Gecko Creations. Oh, since they're in Arizona and it's fucking 98 degrees there in the winter, they could ship year round. Plus, if you buy from them, they basically have free consultations about your collection for life. That's forever. Forever and ever. Call or text Frank today at 480-299-7657 with any questions or inquiries that you have. That's a fucking man that stands by his shit, that he's willing to give out his fucking cell number to all of you degenerates. There's another Snakes and the Fat Man special with Geeky Gecko Creations. It's hard to fucking say. There's a special 10% discount on all applicable animals using code SATFM10 at checkout. Go check out Frank and his awesome fucking animals at geekygeckocreations.com. Guys, thanks again for everything. And again, don't forget to catch the next episode, Snakes and the Fat Man, episode 100, live on YouTube on June 1st at 8 p.m. Eastern. The Mertens Monitor Contest, sponsored by Uncle Mike Stefani of Mike's Monitors, is still open, but that closes on May 25th, and the winner will be announced on the live show on June 1st by Uncle Mike himself. That contest, by the way, is actually free to enter. No cash grab here. The Zoom calls are now once a month, and they're usually at the end of the month, so check my socials for that. And by the way, don't forget to join the Patreon family. That's patreon.com/Snakes and the Fat Man. Be like all these fucking cool motherfuckers right here and join the only reptile cool guy club on the planet. no toxic Discord. Again, that's patreon.com/snakesandthefatman. Also, don't forget the next Hot Girl Sunday show, and that's going to be on May 28th, where I'm going to have Pip Stalkers as my special guest. Anyway, 2 for 1. Does it really get any better than that? 2 hot chicks, 1 hot host. I mean, really. And finally, don't forget to keep up with the 3 funniest motherfuckers in the hobby with myself and my other 2 cohorts at Bronx Down Under every Tuesday night at 8 p.m. We actually made Bronx Down Under YouTube channel, so please go over there and subscribe to that, because we're going to run it on both Snakes and the Fat Man and Bronx Down Under for now, but eventually it's going to migrate straight over to Bronx Down Under. Guys, thanks again for hanging around for the whole thing. I appreciate you, and I look forward to seeing you all on episode 100 on June 1st. Take it easy, guys. Everyone talks their own shit about what kind of racks you should buy. Metal racks are great, but everyone doesn't want a goddamn 7-foot high, 6-foot wide, 2,000-pound metal rack in their fucking house. That's a 2 refrigerator footprint, man. 2 fucking refrigerators. Sea Serpents makes insane quality racks that could fit anywhere. They're stackable PVC racks that are living room friendly, and they're shipped fully assembled with heat tape already installed. Just plug it into a thermostat and you're ready to go. When we had the shop, we had over 20 Sea Serpent racks there before they ever became a sponsor of Snakes and the Fat Man. I don't breed much anymore these days, but I still have a few racks here in my house, and you could be goddamn sure that they're Sea Serpents. Oh, and they also make hotbox incubators, probably the best reptile incubators made in America. At the height of our breeding business, we had 4 4-foot hotbox incubators, and again, I still have a small hotbox incubator here in case anything I keep actually does breed. Go to SeaSerpents.com and check out their incredible selection of PVC racks, and tell Chris Nettles that the Fat Man sent you.